What is up, everyone? I'm Skratch. Welcome to the channel. This is another Raid Shadow Legends video. Hope you guys are having an amazing day. Today, guys, we are not alone on the channel. We have another fellow Romanian here. We have Vortex. He has another channel as well on Raid Shadow Legends. So I'm gonna leave the link in the description down below. Go and show him some love. Drop him a follow, a subscribe. In today's video, guys, basically I got him on the channel. We've done a collab on his channel, so check that out. But in today's video, I wanna basically help you guys out to decide, to basically make it easier to decide on what's your next 6-star champion. So rather than always putting the question who I should 6-star next, hopefully this video will give you some clarity on that topic. But before we dive into the main topic, what's up, Vortex? How you doing, buddy?
Hey, thanks for having me, friend. Yeah, I'm okay. It was a fun collab that we had earlier, so I hope this one will be as good or even better, and maybe someone will learn a little bit more about which one will be your next 6-star champion, you know?
Absolutely.
And yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
A pleasure. So basically, guys, you should follow some priorities, right? When you are deciding on what champion to take to 60. If you're a brand new player, if you're mid-game player or whatever, you might be kind of like stuck in this position when you're looking at your roster and you're like, who should I 6-star next? What can I do with these champions? So, in my personal opinion, I'm gonna let after Vortex, of course, to give you his own take on the topic. But in my personal opinion, you should have priorities. It really depends where you are in the game. If you're a brand new player, the number one priority for everybody is Clan Boss, because this gives you some of the best rewards. Now, if you don't have champions good enough for the Clan Boss, there isn't much that you can do. So you kind of like need to shift a bit your priorities. Then, of course, the more you kind of like progressing through the game, dungeons, Doom Tower, Faction Wars, Curse Series, Hydra, etc. becomes the next priority. Now, there are a few criteria that you should follow when you are basically working on your next 6-star champion. And that is to kind of like have an understanding of what your account needs at the moment. So once you're done with your priorities, Clan Boss, Arena, Dungeons, Faction Wars, Hydra, Doom Tower, Curse Series, etc., you're gonna have to kind of like look at the champions that you have available, kind of like understand what they're doing, right? So read their skills, and then be like, okay, this champion can give me value. I don't have a champion that does this leveled up at the moment, so this champion can potentially help me. Then you need to think about the longevity, right? You need to think about how important will be this champion throughout your entire journey in Raid Shadow Legends. If you're planning to level up a champion that 2 weeks later will be replaceable because you just got a better one, and then you're going to replace the other one with another better one in 2+ months, you haven't really done the right decision, because you're just basically investing your resources into champions that are constantly being replaced by better options. So that's one very important thing that you should consider when you are kind of like deciding on how to pick your next 6-star. What about you, Vortex? What's your main priority when you are deciding on who to 6-star next, right?
Okay, so yeah, for me personally, as a mid-game player, okay, I'm not an end-game player, so I think I can relate a little bit more to most of the people.
Okay.
Personally, my first priority is always Clan Boss and Hydra. I always look for champions to fulfill those slots and bring me the buffs and the debuffs that I need. So I think it's really important to know exactly what do you need, and read, like you said, read through through their kit and see if you actually need that champion, or is just an average champion that you might use for the moment and then you're not going to use him anymore. Another big priority, in my opinion, it's again for a mid-game player, it's about dungeons for a while. So make sure don't make the same mistake that I did. For example, if you get a champion that has like a freeze on his kit, like Neldor or Creodon, make sure to keep them around. You know, take a look at the dungeons like in Fire Knight. You know, and don't use your Neldor to as food. You know, try to save some of these champions. And also for like Curse City, you will always need some epics or rares every now and then. So I think every champion at some point will come useful. Not all of them, but some of them they're gonna be useful at some point. But priority always for, in my case, will be always Clan Boss and Hydra.
Gotcha. So I would definitely put as the main priority the Clan Boss. I feel like you're getting so many different resources from there that is very, very important to do it, right? But at some point, I really feel like the dungeon should be the next priority, because if you're getting decent gear, right? When you start playing the game, you're not really gonna have good gear. Mid game, you're not really gonna have good gear. So if you're not prioritizing those dungeons when you should do it, you're just not going to get the gear that you need to push in higher difficulties, either in the clan boss, either in the Hydra. So I feel like you're basically handicapping yourself if you're not prioritizing dungeons too. So I do think that clan boss should be early on the main priority if you have the champions, which means to
Yeah,
have good clan boss champions. Now, if you don't have that available, I would 100% make dungeons my priority and try to get that done. The Dragon Slayer, the Spider, the Fire Knight, be able to get the Minotaur done without having any issues, without having to bring in 5 max champions so you don't get
yeah,
masteries for others.
yeah,
Then
yeah,
Arena is very, very important as well, because you're getting the Great Hall done. You're going to be able to just up your accuracy, up your resistance, up your crit damage, and then whatever else you guys might want. And on top of it, you're going to do the missions, right? You're going to get your Arbiter. You're going to get... I'm going everywhere else but the missions. There we go.
yeah,
You're going to get Arbiter. She's absolutely game-changing. And to be honest, there are not many impactful champions that you should invest in early on for Arena. I wouldn't stress much with High Cartoon. Maybe you're going to summon somebody better that will give you more value. But I feel like this should be kind of like the main priorities. And then slowly... faction wars. So I would even level up champions as food. And when we have the free gear removal, I would put gear on the food champions, try to beat some of the stages in faction wars to allow me to climb higher. And then I would remove the gear at 0 cost and
yeah,
use them as food. Getting faction wars done as well, guys. I'm not saying to get all of the 945 stars instantly, but just trying to push a few stages left and right will give you an insane advantage, because you're going to unlock the perception gear at the forge, which is one of the most impactful sets on pretty much every account out there. So it's definitely
yeah,
a massive thing that you guys should prioritize. And then I would look to the Hydra clan boss personally. And I feel like a lot of people might not really know, well, how do I know which champion is good for what? Well, I'll be very honest with you guys. You cannot always trust the in-game reviews, right? So if you're
yeah.
looking at
That's true.
in-game reviews, sometimes you can, in some cases. There are a lot
Yeah,
of old champions that got buffed, and they're much better than they used to be. So I would suggest you just watch YouTube videos on the champions that you have available. If you have Gurgo the Augur available, go on YouTube and write Gurgo the Augur, and watch a couple of videos to help you understand what this champion can do, if you're unsure, right? And it's very important as well, I guess, with legendaries, not to waste your books on them. Chickens are very important early on as well. So not throwing your resources at every single champion that you're getting is very important. So kind of like try to make to gather some information related to the champions that you have available. But those should be the main priorities, in my opinion.
yeah. Can I add something
Yeah,
about the
please,
campaign?
please,
So
yeah.
I feel like a lot of people, they need to understand that before you even move to the dungeons, you should try to farm gear from campaign. It's a lot cost efficient, and you get some rewards when you finish those missions, even for like the arbiter. So getting that first champion to 6-star, whether it's like your Kale, or if you go for like Sun Wukong, I don't know if he's still available. I think he is.
It is. It is.
Uh,
I think till the
yeah,
end of the month, actually. Yeah.
get your Sun Wukong straight away if you start the game now. I'm talking about if you start the game now.
Mhm.
If you didn't get your Sun Wukong, and the first champion that you see some potential, take him to 60 and start farming campaign as much as you can. Do all those missions, because, and the gear obviously, because it's a lot better to farm in campaign rather than going for the speed from the Dragon Slayer, right? To a certain point, and then eventually you will move to the actual dungeon and farm the speed gear. But you can actually get that one. I think it was, I can't remember which one.
Stage
Yeah,
6.
Palace of Arabia. Yeah, in 6. So you can go there. Even a 3-star, a 4-star, if you get like some speed on the boots, that would be amazing. So start there and then move towards the dungeons, right?
Yeah.
So I
So
think that's important.
yeah, I think you can definitely waste a bit of energy to try and get 2 pair of 5-star boots that are speed main. I would not
Yeah,
burn a lot of energy in this, because this is again a a big misconception here. I know a lot of people are always suggesting going farm campaign for speed gear. You should only do it for boots, okay? You don't want to
Yeah.
you don't want to go and do different pieces, and you should not do it for 100 pair of boots. You do it for a couple of them just to basically allow you to put it on your main champions. That will eventually allow you to progress higher in the dragon dungeon, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Because you need speed. It's a king in the game.
yeah,
You know.
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
So you should definitely kind of like do it in that priority. Clan boss. If you cannot do clan boss, guys, if you're champion, I mean, everybody's gonna do clan boss, but if you don't have god tier champions for the clan boss to invest in early on, that's fine. You should go straight to the Dragon Slayer dungeon. That should be your priority. Once you are done with the champions for that, you should move to the Spider's Den. That should be your next priority. Once you're done with that, next priority should be the Fire Knight, because this will enable you to get a lot of good gear for your damage dealers. Then
The
we can
Savage.
talk a bit about the Ice Golem if you really need anything from there. Minotaur is gonna be much easier than any of these dungeons, so that's why I'm not mentioning all of these keeps and stuff. Is gonna be much easier. But then it comes in play again. You need to do some arena. You do need to have some decent gear on your champions to do arena. If not, you're just gonna get blocked instantly. Then look over to Faction Wars. Look over to Hydra Clan Boss. Now, for the Hydra Clan Boss, you do require quite a few champions. The stats for the Hydra Clan Boss are more intense. You need more accuracy. You need more speed, even on the normal difficulty, comparing it with dungeons and Clan Boss, right? So
Yeah.
you need to keep that in mind. Then you have the Doom Tower. There are tons of different bosses in there. Champions that are good for bosses. You should keep that in consideration as well. You can always check best teams, you know, and like this, you're getting an example from the global ranking. Not the best example because there are a lot of Kraken whale teams in here, but it gives you an idea of what sort of champions can work. So if you're looking at all these, there's one champion that can pretty much solo this, right? But
Yeah.
what does that champion do? You check what the champion does. He's a poisoner. So then you're looking, do I have any good poisoner that I can build on regeneration with a blood shield accessory maybe to get this boss done, you know? So you need to have all these things in mind.
No, I wanted to say, I feel like this is an advice I always try to tell people. Whenever you get a champion, in doubt, just go and check for a guide for that champion,
Yeah.
or go on the Hell Hades website and check what he does, how good he is, before you even start investing in it, and see if it fits your needs, right, for your account. Because
Yeah.
at some point, if the champion is a 3-star on Hell Hades and is not that great, and you still decide to invest in it, then what you're gonna do with that champion? And I have plenty of those in my account as well, because I did that mistake, you know. And I think everyone is doing it at some point.
Absolutely. So let's
Yeah.
just take it as an example, right? So this is my roster right here, what I have on the screen. I do have one God tier champion. Everybody knows Newt. He's amazing, right? Now, this champion will fill multiple roles. Dungeons, Hydra, Clan Boss. Not really an arena champion, but he will get the job done in pretty much any other content. So I know I'm going to have to work on Newt. But should he be my main priority? Probably not. Then I
No.
have quite a few different damage dealers, right? I have Wallmaster Artorian, very similar with Newt. He's going to be very powerful for Hydra and can be very effective in other content as well. But he won't be at the level of Newt. Then I have another damage dealer. He's going to be good for Arena. I know that. He can be good for control on waves. He can be good for faction wars, similar with the rest. I have a trash legendary champion that you should not invest in. Then I have a decent ally attack support champion, which will mainly be good for Arena and Fire Knight and a few different niche areas, maybe Doom Tower. But then if I'm looking at epics and rares, we have Coalheart, which is an amazing rare for dungeons and stuff, good for progression, good even in the clan boss early on if you don't have better options. And I have Broadma. Everybody says Broadma sucks, but the main thing is you need support. So you've done your first champion at 60, which most likely is your starter. Then you might have a Wukong, you might have a different free champion that you managed to acquire. The next one after the starter should be a support champion that is able to carry your other champion through dungeons, even through the higher stages of campaign where you might be struggling to get the 3 stars done, you know, to get the rewards. And then you should start looking for a debuffer, a defense down, a decreased attack. So if I'm looking at what I have available right here, I don't really have much available that will help me in that perspective, unless except Roxanne, which kind of sucks, right? So you can
Yeah.
go and farm a War Maiden from campaign, which is a rare champion. That's gonna bring your defense down. Then I'm gonna definitely make Newt because he's gonna be amazing. So then I have 4 champions. And then I'm gonna look at my next thing. Well, what else I need that will really elevate my team? I have debuffs, I have damage, I have a support champion. So now it's time to bring in a crowd control champion to help me with the waves where I'm struggling the most. And
Yeah.
that's where Gurgo comes in play. Well, I've done him for the waves, but he's good for arena. So now I kind of like shot 2 birds with 1 stone, you know? So I feel like that's what people need to kind of like have in mind when they're picking their champions from a limited roster, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, I always say try to focus on those 5, maybe 6 champions. Okay,
Mm,
select which ones you have and try to focus on those. Maybe you're not gonna have 6 that are amazing, so you might focus on 3 of them instead of 6. But focus on 1 champion at a time, not on 10 champions at the same time, because then you don't know exactly what you're doing. So if you once you decide for the champion that you know exactly you want to use him for different content in the game, dungeons, arena, whatever, try to focus on just that champion with books, with masteries, or with everything instead of doing a little bit of books here, a little bit of books here, some masteries here, some masteries there, because then you're losing a lot. And that champion, if you once you book him and you do the masteries for him, he might be able to help you to progress and get your other champions done, right?
mm,
So I think that's it should be learned a little bit by everyone, including me. you know,
yeah.
focus, because even me, for example, sometimes I have like 3 4 champions. Just to give an example, we were talking about Freya in the other video. I pulled Freya, I pulled Supreme Gaelic, and Lydia, all 3 at the same time. You're right. So then I was like, who should I do first? Okay, what do I need? Do I need the Lydia? Do I need the Freya? What do I do now? So
Hmm.
I was there trying to level them up, put 1 book here, 1 book there, and then I was okay. I need to stop and I need to decide exactly what I want. So I decided to go for Lydia.
Hmm.
Okay, because Lydia, she is amazing champion. Obviously, you get her from the faction war, but I decided Freya and Supreme Gallic, they're amazing, but I don't really need them now.
Yep.
Let me focus on Freya because she brings a lot more to the table and for my account. So I'm gonna focus on her, and then I will move towards those 2. And obviously, then Thor came, the fusion. So I've done the fusion, and I was like, okay, Freya, you need to stop, and I will focus on Thor, right? So, I mean, sometimes you get carried by this game, and you
You do.
start to forget what you
New
want to
toys.
do. Yeah,
For sure, yeah. And I feel like people might not be early on, right? And you already have like a very vast roster of champions, and you're still trying to think who's your next 6 star.
yeah,
Try to see, well, I still have 2 different faction wars left. Let me just build champions for that faction. Or
yeah,
I need to
exactly.
do some different different stages in the curse series. Let me do champions for that area, you know? So
Yeah,
always try to look at what's your goal in the game. What is my next goal in the game? Do I want to beat faction wars? Do I want to beat the Hydra clan boss? Do I want to beat this? Do I want to beat that? And then decide what's your next 6 star champion, because that's basically what will give you the only recipe you need to know in order to decide for your next champion without ever having to ask anyone else for advice on this, basically, you know? But I feel like
yeah.
we pretty much covered everything related to this topic, guys. Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below if you are following kind of like a different recipe to
Okay.
success to decide with your next 6 star. Vortex, was a pleasure to have you on the channel, buddy.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. It was very nice to be here with you.
A pleasure as well. And as
Thank you,
usual,
man.
guys, much love. Appreciate all of you guys watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.